Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we're pleased to be joined by Casey Kirwan, of course, great name, by the way. Of course, a full-time iRacer. You've seen him probably on Twitch or some other platforms or something. You've seen him around the sport a lot. How's it going, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. So what have you been up to? And just tell everybody what you do.
Yeah, so I compete in NASCAR's top esports series, the Coca-Cola iRacing series. This season will be my fifth season. Um, so that's pretty much what I do, but I do a lot of Twitch streaming as well. So I'm full time in the iRacing stuff. So um yeah, that's what we do. I'm with XSET on that team side. We have a connection with Anthony Alfredo is on XSET. So yeah, that's our season kicks up soon, so we'll be getting busy.
So how exciting is it to kick off another year? What team are you going to be driving for in in this year in the Coca-Cola iRacing series?
Yeah, so I'm on XSET. So they it's one of the esports organizations that is involved. And Anthony Alfredo is involved with them. So um yeah, we've they got in the series last year and I got with them, and they're really involved and into it, and it's cool to be with them.
So what is your favorite track to iRace?
Uh I guess if we're not talking NASCAR, then it would be Long Beach, which is right here. Um, yeah, I've ever since they put Long Beach into iRacing, it's been my favorite. But on the NASCAR side of things, it's funny. I For whatever reason, Pocono is my favorite track. I don't know why. I feel like no one ever says Pocono, but I love Pocono for some reason. Um, I love Pocono. I love Dover, Martinsville. Um, most of the short tracks I like, but I don't know why Pocono, and like Indianapolis as well. I don't know why. I think it's because, if you get a good run out of a corner, you have like a mile and a half long straightaway to take the run, and you just get to enjoy it for a while.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about, I know that, iRacing is a big part of it. You're almost to the point where you can actually do this for a living.
Yeah.
So how does all that work? Like, how'd you like get into all this?
Yeah, so I got into the series, like I said, this would be my fifth season. Um Back then, like it's grown a ton in the past few years. So back then, like the prize pool in total was 17 grand. And if you won the championship, it was 10 grand. At that point, it was just, a pretty competitive hobby. And then over the past few years, with the teams getting involved, bringing sponsors, and sponsors like Coca-Cola sponsor the series, the prize pool is up to like over 300 grand. It's 100 grand if you win the championship. So all that's grown. And then to qualify for the series, at the time it was a little bit different when I did it. It was still the Pro Series, but it was just the Pro Series in the winter. So I guess to backtrack a little bit to try and make it easy. So there's 40 drivers in the series. The bottom 20 at the end of every season like have to requalify. And then there's the Pro Series in the winter, now called the Contender Series, I guess. So the bottom 20 out of Pro fall out, and then the top 20 out of what's now Road to Pro, which is trucks that runs like the whole season that we run. Like they run on the opposite weeks. The top 20 out of that and the bottom 20 out of our series make up the Contender Series in the winter, and then they run like 7 or 8 races, and then the top 20 out of that makes it back in.
Okay.
And then obviously the top 20 in the Coke Series locks back in for the next year. So yeah, that's how you get into it. So it's it's a whole year-long process now to get into it. Thankfully, when I did it, it was just a 10-week thing in the winter. But now these guys that are trying to make it in now, it takes a whole year to make it in.
So what's it like trying to? And we've had different iRacers on before. Actually, we actually had a couple of them on before this. But talk about like, well, how much do you do? Like, how much do you practice for these races? Like so often, just to give a rough idea.
Right. So I would say for me, driving before a race is at least like 6, 7, 8 hours of driving, if not more. It all kind of depends on if you're struggling. Obviously, if you feel good and you get your setup dialed in, and like you really can't feel how much you could improve, then you don't drive too much. But there's times where like we race on Tuesdays. There's a series an official series in iRacing called it's just Class A Open on Monday nights, and that's typically what the Coke guys will all get in Monday night to kind of practice or like do a test race. Obviously, we'll all try and sandbag and not really show what we have, but you can kind of get a little bit of a gist. You can kind of get a little bit of an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's been times where we feel absolutely horrible after that race, and it's like, I mean, there's been times we've been tested. Those races are like 8 or 10 at night, and you'll after you run it and you feel horrible, you'll test to like 4 a.m. trying to find stuff, then get back up the next day and still try and find stuff all over the race. So it kind of varies. If you have a good week, then it could only be 4 or 5 hours of driving. If you have a bad week, again, you could put 12 hours in the day leading up to the race trying to find speed. So it kind of varies, but yeah, there's a lot of effort that goes into it.
Yeah, there's Monday night. Now there's also Monday night league races, but
Yes.
those are even more interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know you were also helping out during. I think it was you, but you were helping
Yes.
out a lot of the Fox team out when
Yes.
they were iRacing. What was that experience like?
Yeah, that was really cool. So again, to backtrack a little bit, so with the teams coming in 2019, I drove for Clint Boyer, so that's how I got that connection. And then 2020, I was racing with Denny Hamlin, and then COVID hit and all that, and they went to go do this invitational stuff. They'd canceled, I think, that Friday or something, and then that like Monday, I got an email from like the connection I had with Clint, and they were like, "Hey, like, could you go to the Fox studio Tuesday night? They're gonna like try and do a rehearsal for all this." And actually, we were gonna have they had our series drivers do a rehearsal race so that Fox could like rehearse broadcast it.
Yeah.
So I didn't partake in the race because I ended up going to the studio and like helping them walk through everything because they like Clinton had an idea. He's done a little bit of iRacing, but like Mike Joy and Jeff and them, they didn't really know how to broadcast it, and they're getting a feed from iRacing and like how to expect or request like camera changes and where to get timing and scoring and all that. And they did stuff with like fast repairs. They didn't have to know all that. So or they didn't know all that. So yeah, it was like trying to explain all the ins and outs of iRacing to them in that one night. And then we went back, I guess that Sunday. Clint got his rig in the studio, and then every single race I was 6 feet to Clint's left with a mouse and keyboard. Because that was the thing with Clint. He's done racing, but he never really knew all the ins and outs of like, especially with him doing the broadcast, he didn't want to have to worry about trying to like check his tires or uncheck tires, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So he just kind of had me there to just help and make sure that he was going in the right direction as best we could. So yeah, but it was really cool to do all that stuff with them. It was pretty crazy, but it was a fun 8 weeks or so that we did that.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, we get to do it a little bit again last year too, which was cool. Yeah, they had and Joey and Logano got in on it as well in the studio.
Yeah.
But that was fun for sure.
All right. So what else? I know you also do a lot of streaming on Twitch. So like, talk about like what you do on there, because I know there's a lot of Twitch people that do a lot of stuff.
Right. So I pretty much only do iRacing. We'll do just I race all of the above really. Obviously my main stuff is the NASCAR stuff. And once the NASCAR season kicks off, I guess my big main thing is it's called the NIS Fix series, or that just follows the real life NASCAR schedule every week for everyone on iRacing. That's kind of the big stuff that I stream during the season. And then here and there I'll do some other stuff. I love doing a lot of road now too. I'll get in anything on road as well, but obviously once the NASCAR season kicks off, it's mainly NASCAR. But yeah, I do a lot of that, and then I stream my perspective of every Coke Series race, which is cool. So every time we're racing those, we have a pretty good group of people in the chat supporting. So which is awesome to have. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Just straight up iRacing. That's about it for me.
Yeah. It's seeming like fun stuff there, but talk about like really what you plan to do. What are your goals for this coming year in 2022?
Yeah, obviously, the main goal, the big dream, right, is to win the championship. But for me, like unfortunately, now we have the new playoff format. I've never made the playoffs. I want to make the playoffs at least. And last year we went to the whole win and you're in format, just like real life.
Mhm.
Which for me, if it was 2019 and 2020 me would have been amazing because 2019 and 2020 me wasn't great on points, but I won a race in those years, so I could have been in the playoffs. And then last year was the complete opposite. I was very consistent, but I never quite got a win. So, but also not many people got wins, or sorry, a lot of people got wins. A lot of people were in the same boat as me. So for us, since it's kind of a shorter season, it's a 10 spot playoff. And I think there was 14 races before the playoffs started, and there was 13 winners out of those 14 races. So there was even 3 winners that didn't make the playoffs, um, which was unfortunate for them. And again, unfortunate for me. It was my best season statistically, besides getting a win. We tied for the most top tens on the season. If it was like if you took the playoffs out of it, I think we would have been like 4th or 5th in points. So we ran up front consistently, just never quite got a couple spots better to get a win. But yeah, hopefully just get a win and get in the playoffs this year and try and fight for a championship is the goal. Also, there is a team championship. It'd be cool to get X at the team championship. We were close for the first half of the year last year. Ryan Luza, who's my teammate, former champion of the series, we both were doing really well, and we were fighting with the 23-11 guys for the championship. And then unfortunately in the back half of the year, Ryan had a lot of bad luck, and I think we fell to like 3rd at the end. So hopefully we can have a more consistent season and try and fight for the team championship for them as well.
All right. Well, Casey Kirwan, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us about iRacing, and we will talk to you soon. Let's have you on again sometime.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.